Hey guys, Ralph here. True Power Trumpet Fitness, and welcome to terrific Thursday. You can see the sun's out. It's frigid, 11 degrees, man, when I was out running this morning. But it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful here in Connecticut. Anyway, you saw the thumbnail, the great John Ware. No other word for him, the great John Ware. Overlooked quite a bit because he was playing assistant principal to some serious trumpet players over the years. But what and chops, we'll get to it. Anyway, I have not played yet today. In honor of John Ware, he didn't have to warm up either. Anyway, here we go. Let's see what we got, and we'll get to John Ware. Anyway, double C's and Richard Strauss, Alpine Symphony. I did that for a reason, and I'll get to that when we talk about Johnny. Anyway, yes, the great John Ware. I had the good fortune of studying with him. I took about 10 lessons with him, I'm going to say, at the end of my career at Mannes. Vacchiano had retired. Mel was full students, and decided to study with, could have studied with Mel, but decided to hear what Johnny Ware had to say, and I'm so glad I did. So glad I did. Anyway, a quick trip down memory lane as far as his career is concerned, and then we'll get to his chops, because his chops were terrific. Anyway, studied with Vacchiano at Juilliard, and in perfect way in that they did things back then. I think he only spent 1 year at Juilliard, possibly 2, and he got a job with the Dallas Symphony. Okay, and at that time, and I suppose it's still the case, if you got a job, you know, the degree be damned, you went and took the job. I mean, that's what you were at Juilliard for, to become a professional player, so you got it. So I know he didn't graduate, and that came up to haunt him a little later on in life, and I'll get to that too. But first with the Dallas Symphony, and he fully expected to spend his career there. He was very happy. It's an excellent orchestra. It still is an excellent orchestra, and fully expecting to spend his career there. Gets a call from Vacchiano. I need an assistant trumpet player up here in New York. Do you want to come? Heck yeah. I don't know if they could, back then, they may have been able to circumvent the audition process. At the very least, if he had to audition, it was a foregone conclusion. He had the job. Vacchiano told him he wanted him, and that was the case. What he wanted was his chops. His chops were fabulous. Now, one thing that Vacchiano is very shrewd about, if you notice, a lot of players, especially the orchestra players, do not want to, if they're sitting first, do not want better players than them around because they feel they're insecure and they feel it makes them look bad. Vacchiano was the complete opposite. He wanted to surround himself with the best players so they could cover for him. And when Johnny first got there, the trumpet section was Vacchiano, Nathan Prager, and John Ware, which, you talk about monsters. And Johnny Ware told me, and again, I took some lessons with him, Johnny Ware told me that the best trumpet player he ever heard was Nathan Prager. Okay? Now, since I studied with Johnny for a long time, when we were, again, in New York, and all these guys on the faculty at the New York Philharmonic were at my school, Mannes, we got tons of backstage passes tons of go over. Anytime we wanted to just go in and sit in on a rehearsal. I mean, it was a tremendous, tremendous experience. And I got to hear Johnny WARE a lot, a lot. And guys, the tone, power, range, and endurance was top-notch, top-notch. Right there with Herseth and Broyles. I think Herseth may have been a little bit stronger than him, and Broyles definitely had more virtuoso technique than Johnny did. But the chops were fabulous. Now, he played with New York Philharmonic as assistant principal for a long time, okay? And when Vacchiano retired, they wanted him to audition for first chair. Now, he didn't like that a lot. I mean, he'd been sitting there for 20 years. They don't know how he played. He didn't like that one bit, and he told me. But several months before that happened, he was warming up backstage, and a stagehand came by with big boxes, didn't see him, and while he's warming up, boom, hit the end of his bell. Bruised the lip, and for the first time in his life, now remember, he's in his late 40s, early 50s by this time. For the first time in his life, he had a bad chop. He had bad chops. A little beat up, okay? He started to freak out a little bit. He knew Jerry quite well. He went down to a studio on 40 Midtown and took about 4 or 5 lessons with Jerry. Jerry cleaned him right up, okay? He killed the audition. He got assistant principal trumpet with he and Gerard Schwartz, and he literally put Schwartz out of business. Schwartz could not keep up with John WARE's natural chops along with Jerry's techniques at the time, okay? Which is not exactly what we're doing now, but couldn't keep up with him. And they had the Mahler cycle while I was there, and Vacchiano told me, Schwartz ain't going to last. He's not going to last. And all the guys weren't going to last the Mahler cycle. All the guys are going over and just hanging on every note, right? And Schwartz was getting killed. He didn't get tenure. Blew his chops out. Johnny took it for a period of time. And then Phil Smith came in, and they split it for a while, and then Johnny ultimately retired. Okay? One of his premier iconic works is his Mahler third post-horn solo. I believe it was on a C trumpet, and I think it was Bernstein. I'm not sure, but you can find it on it. It is glorious, absolutely the most glorious, pure. It might be the best post-horn solo ever. Okay, now he decided he wanted to retire, and there was a job opening. Check this out, at Ohio State University. He goes out and takes the interview. They said because he didn't have a degree, they couldn't put him. Now, they're not asking him to teach music history. They're asking him to teach trumpet. And this is the assistant principal trumpet in New York. And they didn't want, I mean, that's how insane it was. That's how insane it was. But not graduating from Juilliard came out and bit him on the tushy later in life. Now, as I told you, I'll never forget. I'll never forget as long as I live my first lesson with him. Now, I was a senior at Mannes. I'm just about to finish up. It's the end of the year. Vacchiano retired, more health issues and everything. So I was finishing up with John WARE. Now, by this time, I was completely 100% Jerry. And Johnny had already studied with Jerry, so he knew that. So anyway, I was using Jerry's mouthpiece. In the old Mannes building, every note you played could be heard throughout the whole school. Okay? Now, my lesson was at 2 o'clock. And he had 5 or 6 guys before me, and I'm playing all day. I had a great day chop-wise. Back then, I didn't have the consistency I do now, but that was just an awesome day. And each one of the guys says, who's this guy playing? Oh, that's Ralph. That's Ralph. And I come in, and he said, is that you playing all day? I said, yeah. And he says, my God, you have great chops. What mouthpiece? Jerry's, oh, that's why you have great chops. And we kibbished about Jerry a little bit. Okay? Then he said, play something, go ahead. So I took out my book, and the Walter Smith Top Tones, number 1. Just killed it. Just killed it. I'm telling you, I didn't miss it. I'm telling you, I really caught a day. right? Where everything was great. He didn't say anything. He pulled out Alpine Symphony, which I just played you. Play this. And I had never played it before. I cuffed a couple rhythms and stuff. Never played it before. He didn't say anything. Got all done. He goes, I can't teach you anything. And we had a chat about my career. He says, what do you want to do? Do you want it? Because orchestral, I can run through the orchestral stuff with you, and we can get an audition together, and you can go out and do it. He said, but I can't teach anything about chops. That's what he said to me. This is John Ware. And I said, you know, I do like the orchestral. I'm going to pursue it, but I'm thinking I'm going to go the commercial route. I love Broadway and all that sort of stuff. He says, great. You'd be awesome on Broadway. He said, do you know somebody? He says, you have to know somebody. It doesn't care how you play unless you know somebody. And at the time I did, he said, okay, you're all set. So what do you want me to do? I said, well, you know what? Let's go through some orchestral stuff until the end of the year. And I said, it's just the end of the year. And I was off, you know. I eventually got the principal trumpet in the North Carolina Opera. And then I was back freelancing everything. But, hey, Papa, he couldn't have been nicer to me. He couldn't have been more supportive. He could have moaned and groaned about the mouthpiece and all. He couldn't have been more open-minded. It sounded great, and that's all he wanted to hear. That's all he wanted to hear. And after I graduated, I went back a couple times when I was taking an audition here, audition there. And I didn't get them. But again, the great John Ware, right there with Herseth and Brolis. Absolutely chop-wise, no question about it. It was pick 'em. You liked his tone a little better. I like his. I mean, it was just right there with him. Playing second fiddle, for lack of a better term, to Vacchiano and ultimately Phil Smith. Okay? So he didn't really get as much of a acclaim as he probably should have. But what a phenomenal player. A humble, sweet man, but humble to the point where he'd look you right in the eye and tell you what he thought. Not being malicious about anybody, but if you want to hear about Gerard Schwartz, yeah, he's having some trouble. It doesn't look good for tenure. I mean, just tell you what it is without being malicious. Wonderful, wonderful man. And chops, big time. Big time. Anyway, that's that. Have a great day. Eat and drink your fruits and vegetables, and we'll wrap it up for another week tomorrow. And live your life with true power. I love you all.